Alright then mate, how you doing? It's Speed here. Mario Kart Deluxe is my all-time favourite racing game, and one of the main reasons for that is the amazing collection of tracks. With 25 brand new tracks, some of which are the best in the series, and 23 retro tracks that are often upgrades from their original counterparts, you're kinda spoiled for choice here. So today, I'm gonna do the absolutely mental and rank all 48 of them. Let's go mate! Number 48, Baby Park. I hate Baby Park. The track is just a freaking oval, and it's short as hell, so it's 7 laps to compensate for that. And because of that, items will be flying absolutely everywhere, so it's a case of when, not if, you get hit by an item. Possibly by one you chucked. As such, your position at the end of the race is virtually put down to luck. I do like the music and how it speeds up every lap, but aside from that, this track is just a pain in the bum to race on. Number 47, Excite Bike Arena. Having tracks based on other series was really cool, but most of them aren't all that great. Excite Bike Arena has the same oval problems as Baby Park, but there's no items flying everywhere, so that automatically makes it better. The main gimmick of this track is ramps, ramps, and more ramps, and the positions of the ramps changes each race. Unfortunately, it changing each race doesn't really change the fact that a track that's pretty much nothing but ramps gets boring very quickly. Number 46, Mario Kart Stadium. Mario Kart Stadium does its job as an opening track alright, but that's as far as I would go. It shows off the anti-gravity and there's a couple of shortcuts to take with the mushrooms, but there's really not that much else to this track. It is definitely the best opening track in the series, but that's not really saying much either. Number 45, Mario Circuit. Compared to the other two Game Boy tracks, this one is incredibly plain. It's a very basic track, with the only standout part being this section in anti-gravity being lifted by the Ultra Hands, a toy that was made from Nintendo back in the 1960s. I'll admit that's a pretty cool Easter egg, but aside from that, nothing special about this track. Number 44, Moomoo Meadows. Another pretty mediocre track. Don't worry, the good ones are coming up soon. You drive around a farm and your main obstacles are cows and multi-balls to go over the track, but usually they're pretty easy to avoid. Well, unless you want to make some steak that night, which honestly I can't blame you if you'd want to. This open area is kind of cool, but it's a pretty track all things considered. Number 43, Bone Dry Dunes. For a track in the Special Cup, Bone Dry Dunes is really underwhelming, as it just feels like a generic desert course with not enough set pieces to make it all that interesting. The sand also makes the track very slippery at times, which I'm not really a fan of, but it's above the other tracks because I really like this section with the spin gates and trick ramps. Best section out of any track so far by far. Number 42, Cheap Cheap Beach. Yeah, compared to some of the other DS tracks, this one ain't as interesting. The changing water types do make use of the underwater mechanic, and the track, like pretty much every beach level in the series, is freaking gorgeous, but the design of this track just feels kind of plain. Not a bad track, but nothing amazing. Number 41, Hyrule Circuit. Sorry, but I never really grew up with Legend of Zelda, so a track taking place in this series doesn't really interest me either, and neither does the track itself. The only memorable segments for me was the part hitting the spin gates to activate this shortcut with the sword, and this area with the higher and lower grounds with the Deku Barbers. Number 40, Electrodrome. I love the setting and the music of the place and how everything in the stage moves in time with the music. However, this is a track with more style than substance. Its main gimmick is these paths that alter the visuals and the music, but because they alter that and not the gameplay, they do lose their charm over time, and once you take that away, you're left with a really boring track all things considered. Number 49, Yoshi Circuit. The layout of this track is absolute genius. It is literally in the shape of a Yoshi. It's a pretty standard track outside of that. Some fun turns to drift around, a couple of shortcuts here and there to make. Honestly, I think they could have used more of the mechanics introduced in this game because it doesn't use them at all, and as such it kind of makes the track feel a little bland compared to some of the others. Number 48, Animal Crossing. I never really cared for the Animal Crossing track either, and even after playing New Horizons, a lot thanks to quarantine, yeah, I'm still not a big fan of this one. You drive through a forest, glide through a town, drive along the beach before heading back to the town centre. Kinda feels like the lap ends way too quickly, but what is interesting about this track is the rabbit villagers. Also, the track can take place in multiple seasons. Granted, it only changes the visuals and the music, but unlike in Electrodrome, there's 4 different variants here, so it works a lot better. Number 37, Cooper City. I seriously love the concept behind this track, taking place in some futuristic city, and it's the only Bowser track in the series that isn't in his castle, and the music is absolutely banging. There's a lot of fun turns to drift around, though the rain making the track slippery isn't exactly my cup of tea. I would love to see more original concepts of Bowser locations in the main series like they did with Bowser's Kingdom and Super Mario Odyssey. Number 36, Dry Dry Desert. Here's a desert track with more interesting segments. There's the falling pillars and the pokies in this curvy section, avoiding this quicksand pit plant, and this oasis they added in with loads of trick opportunities, although I do kinda miss the tornado that swept through the track in the original. Oh, and with the mushrooms, you can pull off some huge shortcuts. This is definitely the better of the 2 desert themed tracks in this game. Number 35, Sweet Sweet Canyon. Now here's a track with an interesting idea. Everything in this track is made of sweet stuff. You get launched out of a donut cannon, giving you a sweet view of the track, smash right through ice cream cone traffic cones, drive through fizzy drinks in a split anti-gravity area, and avoid piranha plants on the home stretch. It's not the best track in terms of gimmick, but the concepts and the visuals are certainly delicious. I know some people in the UK would certainly love this place. Number 34, Donut Plains Spree. Some tracks from the older series can really benefit from newer games mechanics, and this is one of the best examples of that. The broken bridge uses the underwater mechanic for like 2 seconds, and you can perform tricks off the craters that the Monty Moles leave behind. As it's a Snes track, it's a pretty basic layout, but it's fun enough for what it is. Number 33, Shy Guy Falls. This track has one of the best ideas for anti-gravity in the game. After a boost ramp over the waterfall, you enter anti-gravity and get to drive up a freaking waterfall, hitting the boost panels before heading back down to another one, eventually reaching the area where the Shy Guys hard at work. They even whap wow to the beat of the music. That's pretty cool. Number 32, Yoshi Valley. One of the more unique tracks in the series, as I think this has the most alternate route out of any track in the series. It's like a maze for the most part, but it didn't take long for me to find the best route. They even added in a barrel cannon, but that's a huge long cut, so don't bother. I'm honestly surprised more tracks in the series haven't tried this, although I think it would have been cool if you had it in like an Easter egg where if you like hit the button when you're selecting the course, it hides people's positions like it did in the original. That would have been kinda cool. Number 31, Mario Circuit. In my opinion, this should have been the opening track, as it shows off anti-gravity better. The track is in the shape of a Mobius strip, so half of the track is directly below the other half of the track, or above, depending on what you classify it as, which is actually one of the best uses for anti-gravity in the game, and the huge turns make for loads of purple boost opportunities, so that's always a plus. Number 30, Water Park. Besides video games, water parks are probably the best things humans have ever created, and I'm glad we managed to get a track based off one in Mario Kart 8. This was actually the first track I played in this game because of the concept. You'll be drifting around a roller coaster track with which you can spin off the roller coaster, drive around a merry-go-round that has a really cool Easter egg, or in 200cc you can just plow right through it, and glide right through a big wheel. It left a great first impression for this game. Number 29, Toast Turnpike. Most games usually have a traffic-themed track in the game. Surprisingly, Mario Kart 8 didn't introduce one, but we've got a great retro traffic track here. Normally not the biggest fan of traffic tracks overall, as most of them are just okay, or I mean View Highway. Here you can actually glide off some of the vehicles, and you can even drive over the sides of some of the walls, which is very useful for outrunning blue shells, and bloody hell did they go out with the scenery here. Really makes it feel like a busy place. Also, where the hell did the blue shell go here? Number 28, Ice Ice Outpost. This track certainly likes its alternate routes. Being set in what looks like the North Pole that's falling apart, the track constantly splits into yellow and green paths that you can often drop down onto each other. Not to mention there's several parts where you can cut off corners, which are very satisfying to me. And the music is surprisingly good as well. But like I said earlier, I'm not a fan of tracks that are slippery, so that might have cost this track a place in the top half. Number 27, Royal Raceway. Honestly, that huge jump about halfway through the track made so much sense for the gliding mechanic. I love the part before it as well, giving you a run up before the fly. It's a pretty basic track overall, but the turns are fun to drift around. Also, screw you, Blue Shell. Number 26, Dragon Driftway. Not sure why Gobblegut of all characters got a shower here, but hey, more power to him. The whole track is Chinese inspired, and in terms of visuals and music, it really goes all out with the inspiration. It's also one of the best tracks in the game for using the anti-gravity, as most of the lap takes place in it, and Jesus Christ can some of these turns be pretty sharp. Have fun getting around those on 200cc. Definitely one of the more interesting DLC tracks. Number 25, Snes Rainbow Road. Okay, let's just get straight to the main point. I think this is the best looking track in the game. The way the bright colours of the Rainbow Road pop out against the night sky is absolutely beautiful. And I also love the jazz remix of the original Rainbow Road theme going on. As it's a SNES track, the design is pretty basic, but the forms do now create shockwaves that are very hard to time tricks on, and just like the original, there's no guardrails, so be careful. Number 24, Super Bell Subway. As if a track taking place in an airport wasn't enough for this game, more on that later, there's also a track that takes place in a subway, and with all the turns and ramps everywhere, if you're not being careful you could easily run right into one. But if you can get on one of the higher routes, you could drive right on top of them if you're good enough to stay on, which clearly I'm not. Number 23, N64 Rainbow Road. Yeah, they did a lot more with N64's Rainbow Road than they did with SNES's Rainbow Road. About 90% of this track now takes place in anti-gravity. There's boost gates everywhere. You'll be avoiding chunks bouncing on the track, creating shockwaves, and plenty of opportunities to get those purple mini boosts. The track is split into sections like 7's Rainbow Road was, but to be honest, I think making this track 2 laps instead of 1 big lap would have been the better option. Still a great track though. Number 22, Wildwoods. Now this is where I really start to like the tracks. You start off with a split path, one of which has plenty of trick opportunities, before going right through a village, but the best parts of this track are at the end. The rushing water section is a blast to drift along, keeping the speed up, whilst having plenty of trick opportunities. I love tracks that have the rushing water mechanic, and the boost ramps on the lily pads are really fun to drive over. Really great track. Number 21, Wario's Gold Mine. Quite a lot got added to this track. There's a ramp to cut off the corners, and the Shy Guys from Shy Guy Falls are back as well, even doing that whack wow, wow, wow to the music. But the main highlight of this track for me is the minecart section, as the whole thing now takes place in anti-gravity, and hitting the minecarts now gives you speed boost, which is a really cool use of the anti-gravity. Number 20, Twisted Mansion. Possibly the best ghost level in the series, as the name of this track doesn't lie, it gets twisted. After the initial section where you drive on walls, and it's satisfying to try and get 2 tricks on one of the sides,
you make a U-turn.
And this is really where the mansion begins to get twisted. Hell, on one of these split paths at the end, you are literally gliding on the side, and it ends with another split path and some boos trying to crush you. The mansion also looks amazing as well. Number 19, DK Jungle. His jungle track might be the best DK track yet. Taking place on his island from Donkey Kong Country Returns, a lot of the game's elements can be seen there. The flowers you can bounce off, the tikis you have to avoid, and this huge shortcut en route to the Golden Temple. They really went all out here. Number 18, Swamp Ruins. This might just be the best track I've seen in a Mushroom Cup. After the initial cave section, there's loads of different routes to take here. You can either drive on the side of the walls, take a dip, or buy the second or final lap depending on how fast you are. These millstones can open up a route that allows you to glide over the whole thing. I also love the concept of ruins for once, and I'm guessing this is why there's none in Bowser's Castle for once. Number 17, Piranha Plant Pipe Play. Like I also said in Wildwoods, I love the rushing water mechanic, so half of the track having rushing water is always a plus. This section in particular is really useful for the inside drifting bikes, which I like to use a lot. The final section also makes great use of the underwater mechanic, and on 200cc as well, you can use this glide ramp to cut the last bit. That's really handy. Number 16, Grumble Volcano. This was one of my favourite tracks from the Wii, and it's definitely one of my favourites here as well, and here's why. The ultra shortcut is gone. Throughout the whole race, this track, just like my life during lockdown, will start crumbling off, and by the final lap, about a third of the track is gone, so combine that with the fire snakes, an active volcano launching fireballs onto the track, Jesus Christ, that was a close one, it can get pretty hectic. Number 15, Tick-Tock Clock. I've always had an interest on tracks based on areas from other games, and this track goes all out with the idea as many of the Clockwork's mechanics end up in the structure. You'll be dodging clock hands and pendulums and driving over the gears. The gears in the background even move in time with the music. Nice touch. Number 14, Wario Stadium. Yeah, sorry, it's 2DS tracks in a row. Wario had some of the best nitro and retro tracks in the game, and I love the constant speed you can get in this track. All the boost ramps, boosting over this part of all the mud, a really well done anti-gravity section, and using newer game's mechanics towards the end. The whole track flows really well. Number 13, Sunshine Airport. There's a lot to love about this track. The design of this track is bloody brilliant, as it straight up parallels a flight, starting off with the ticket buying, loading up and boarding the plane, to the takeoff and flight itself, to the landing and the unloading areas at the end. It's really well done. Number 12, Cheeseland. With the DLC GBA tracks, they went absolutely mental. Cheeseland is the first of the two on here. Seriously, I love what they did with this track. It's no longer flat, there's trick opportunities in the craters, there's plenty of shortcuts to take, and there's an amazing anti-gravity section at the end. I may be a bit biased because Super Circuit was my first Mario Kart game, but even putting that aside, this is one very well put together track. However, the slipperiness of the cheese cost it a place in the top 10. Number 11, Sherbet Land. The main problem I had with Double Dash was the slippery controls, which were especially a problem on Sherbet Land. Thankfully, the improved controls are just one of the reasons why Mario Kart 8's remake is miles better. They also added in these underwater alternate routes, and whilst yes, the first one is a bit of a long cut, the second one is my preferred route to take, and it's just fun to take as well. I loved it when retro tracks used more of the recent game's mechanics, and this is definitely one of the best uses of it. Oh yeah, and the visuals and the remix music are really nice as well. Number 10, Dolphin Shows. Out of all the underwater tracks in this series, this is probably my favourite. Throughout the whole track, you'll be performing tricks with the dolphins, having fun with all these alternate routes, abuse the hell out of the sea life. Seriously, how the hell is this not hurting the eel's back, let alone killing it? And finally, a glide over a gorgeous waterfall. This track has loads of memorable segments, and it all looks absolutely gorgeous. Number 9, Melody Motorway. A lot of the retro tracks in this game added in a section using this game's anti-gravity, but Melody Motorway was honestly completely fine as it was. My main problem with Electrodrome is that the musical gimmicks never really affected the gameplay, only altering the visuals and the music. Here you can drift over pianos and xylophones, trick off drums, and my favourite part, bouncing off the musical notes at the end with time with the music. Really fun track. Number 8, Cloud Top Cruise. Back before the DLC came out, this was actually my favourite track in the game. The cloud section at the start is just alright, but the real highlight of this track is when you board one of Bowser's airship and set into a thundercloud, where you have to try and hit all of the boost panels whilst avoiding the lightning strikes on them. It's like a fun mini challenge this section. The music even changes to a metal theme during this area, and since the music has some Super Mario Galaxy-like motif going on, you know it's awesome. Number 7, Toad Harbor. The Flower Cup often has that one standout track. I mean, we already saw that with Melody Motorway. Right off the bat, you can either use the boost ramps over the ships or drive across the bridge, and then you can drive through or above the market, and then this shortcut which would get you a place higher if taken well. There's also this wide open area and another shortcut at the end, making it one of the more replayable tracks in the series. Admittedly not the best in terms of concept, but the design more than makes up for it. Number 6, Bowser's Castle. Bowser Castle tracks are often one of the best tracks in their respective games, and this just might be my favourite Bowser Castle to date. It easily has one of the best openings with the gate creaking open and that guitar riff playing. There's an awful lot to dodge on this track, all the fireballs and spike balls whilst doing tricks, the latter of which is surprisingly hard to avoid at times, to the console obligatory Bowser statue punching the track, to the rolling boulders at the end. The whole track is really exciting and I love it. Number 5, Mount Wario. This track honestly feels like an adventure instead of 3 laps, as its design is point A to point B. The first section has you making drifts with ice fists and trying to pull off this shortcut. Oh, maybe not. The second section has you going on the side of a dam and good luck not getting hit in the forest. And the final section has you play in the Winter Olympics with Mario characters without wasting 40 quid. It's easily one of the most unique tracks in the series because of its layout. Number 4, Rainbow Road. This is one of my favourite Rainbow Roads in the series. I love the space station idea behind it. You can get to go on one, drive along conveyors before being launched to more Rainbow Road, and the turns on the Rainbow Road sections are a blast, although I'd have to advise otherwise as it's quicker to just drop down from here. And to top it all off, this is my favourite Rainbow Road theme in the series, so yeah, I see no issue with this track. Number 3, Ribbon Road. This is my favourite retro track in the series. A lot of what I said about Cheeseland applies here as well. The course is no longer flat, there's a couple of shortcuts to make, which can actually be kind of a challenge to make, and a really well done anti-gravity section near the end. However, unlike Cheeseland, the course isn't slippery. I honestly pretty much love everything about this track. Number 2, Mute City. I brought up earlier that the tracks from other series often weren't that great. That's absolutely not the case with the F-Zero tracks. I mean, they're the only 2 left, obviously, I love them. And first off, it's Mute City, and honestly, this one is really easy to explain. With all the boost panels, spin gates, and the whole track taking place in anti-gravity, you can get a lot of speed, and in the deluxe version of this game, you can play as an Inkling. Enough said. Number 1, Big Blue. This track is pretty much a combination of what I've said about previous tracks, especially with the point A to B design of Mount Wario, and the insane speeds and full-on anti-gravity of Mute City. You drive over boost panels and conveyors in the first section. The second section has you riding on rushing water, which, like I said in Wildwoods, I love tracks that use that mechanic. And the final section has more conveyors, as well as boost panels along a split path. And whoever's on that saxophone is having an absolute blast. This has been Spit Inkling, and this is easily my favourite track in the Mario Kart series.